now.
I call the Township of Aleppo workshop meeting of February 10, 2025 to order at 7 p.m. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
President Jones,
Present.
Vice President Williams,
Present.
Commissioner Dara,
Present.
Commissioner Haluka,
Present.
Commissioner Richard,
Present.
Solicitor Stewart.
Present.
And our guest, present.
Present. Presently to sit down. Thank you.
This meeting, as all others, will be recorded and uploaded to YouTube. Do I hear a motion to approve the January 20, 2025 legislative meeting minutes?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Old business, we have an open seat on the Planning Commission. Manager Patterson, would you explain what that is?
Sure, the Planning Commission is the board that is the initial review and recommending board for all subdivision and land development applications that come to the township. So if somebody wants to subdivide their property or consolidate their property, if they had multiple parcels and they want to put them into one, or any kind of land development, which is usually commercial, or like a housing plan or anything like that, that all comes through the Planning Commission first. The Planning Commission reviews it along with the guidance of the engineer, and then they make a recommendation to the commissioners about approving a project or not approving a project. So we had a sitting member who is planning to move out of the township in the next, month or two, so he declined to be reappointed and just, left the seat vacant for the upcoming term. It's a 4-year term. And so it'll be a full term for anybody who's interested. The Planning Commission meets the first Wednesday of every month as needed. Generally, it averages about 8 to 10 meetings a year. We don't meet every month of the year because we don't always have an application. And if anyone is interested in learning more about it or any details, please contact me. And if anyone's interested in serving on that Planning Commission, also contact me and we will invite you in to introduce yourself to the board.
Thank you. There is also an open seat on the Aleppo Township Authority Board. Anyone that's interested should contact Manager Patterson and she'll transfer you to some other people to have further discussion.
Who's stepping down?
We had a long-serving member pass away recently. So Rich Zarobsky, he was on it, I can't remember how many years, but he was on it for a while and was a good contributor. And so this seat will be for the balance of his term. Those are 5-year terms, and it will be, the first to finish the balance of his term will be 2 years.
All right.
And they meet the 4th Thursday of the month. They rearrange around the November and December holidays. And they meet at 4:30 in the afternoon.
Act 172 Emergency Responder Tax Credits.
This is a program that was enacted several years ago by the commissioners, and it provides a tax credit, both earned income and real estate tax, for people who volunteer either with the Aleppo Township Volunteer Fire Company or the emergency management, or emergency, what's it called, Judy? Ambulance service. So we have a list of people, they have to meet the volunteer fire company's criteria for participation, and then we accept the fire company's criteria, and then they have to have paid their taxes in order to get the real estate tax credit, when we refund that to them. So we do this every year. I don't know what year this will be, probably 5th. And so you'll have that list for approval at next week's meeting, and then we will refund that, the amount to those volunteers.
It's a good program.
Yeah, it is.
Land development application, Amazon.
The Planning Commission meeting was last week, and we have a Planning Commission member sitting here. This is Gail from our Planning Commission. And Amazon has submitted an application to construct an automated vehicle inspection building on their property across the street. So it is going to be kind of like a metal shed-type building that the vans will drive through, and it's gonna be full of electronics, that it's going to be scanning for damage on the exterior of their delivery vehicles. So it's going to, the vans as they queue up to load their packages will pass through this scanning shed, and it'll document the damage, and then it's our understanding that every day they'll go through, so it'll determine the damage from the prior day to the next day. So if it gets damaged during deliveries, that'll be noted. It will be on that property, sitting on top of pavement that already exists, so there are not any stormwater concerns. They came to the planning commission, and Ben, the engineer, was here and reviewed it, and the concern that he had was he needed just to see a photometric lighting plan for this structure to make sure that the lights that are on this building will be shining down and not out into the community. It's going to be located on the far side of the warehouse, so farther away from any of the homes. It's gonna be on the far opposite side of the warehouse. Some of the planning commission members, Gail included, had a couple questions about the number of van trips. I did get an email from them about that. I didn't print it and bring it in here, but I can have that information for you. But I believe the number was about 180 van trips per day out of that facility. The vans take 1 trip per day, and that all vans will be expected to go through that building, and they confirmed that it will not attract vans, or they will not be sending vans from other distribution centers to our place to send them through this scanning thing. It's our understanding from this engineer, that's the applicant's engineer, that they are trying to construct these at most of their distribution centers. So this wouldn't be a hub or anything like that. This would not change the number of vans that are currently operating out of our site. But I will have those firm numbers for you.
Could I ask real quick?
If you would be so kind, could you use the podium
Oh,
and, at least introduce yourself?
I'm Gail Newstead. It's hard for me to get up and move around, so.
Okay.
I just don't know where it's falling, but we did have that condition under there that they would not use.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I had brought up a question about an environmental impact study, and that we did not discuss, but I went ahead and took a look at the zoning laws, and indeed, I would like to see that happen for air pollution particularly.
I have a question though.
Yeah.
If I understood you right, when we're not increasing traffic, right?
Correct. That's what they're saying.
So
that
there
it's
would,
not
if we're not
increasing.
adding additional vehicles, then the environmental impact would remain the same.
I'm not sure because they'll be lined up going through, I don't know how long their motors will be going on, whether that was just a recommendation that when I did some research on these particular sheds, that was one of the things that came up as a probable recommendation to have. So that was why I have the information here that I got. I'm not so smart, so I got it from our zoning laws, but I was referred to where it would be under ChatGPT, because it was too cumbersome for me to read it all out. So I asked, and it directed me to the proper place in the zoning laws, which we can go over later if you
Sure,
want.
sure.
Okay, thanks.
Mhm.
Thank you.
So idle time, the idling is
Yeah.
the, okay.
My
Okay.
idle time.
No. The van idling time regulations. I was just trying to clarify.
I got it.
I'll
Okay.
just note that in addition to Ben reviewing, Harlan and I did review the plans. We do not see there being any zoning change to this that would trigger requirements under the zoning ordinance, and we do feel that it complies with the requirements of the subdivision and land development ordinance, but there can be conditions of approval placed upon it, and I would be happy to draft some proposed conditions and prepare them in advance of your meeting next week.
And another thing is, we need to have, the county comment letter needs to be received, they have 30 days. Their deadline is after next week's legislative meeting, so if I don't receive the county comment letter before next Monday night, this will not be on your agenda for February, it will be on the agenda for March, because we have to give the county time to respond.
It sounds like it's still under analysis.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, the planning commission voted to recommend approval subject to certain conditions, so it does not have, we left that meeting without a callback to the planning commission. So the planning commission, the letter in your packet shows what their conditions were. Developer agrees that the proposed facility will be used solely for vehicles that operate out of the Aleppo Township Distribution Center. Submission of an updated photometric plan demonstrating compliance with the township's existing zoning ordinance and compliance with all comments in the HRG review letter dated February 3rd, 2025, and any comments from the Allegheny County Planning Department review letter.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Any other discussion? Gwen, would you explain the necessity of the incorporation renewal?
Nope. That's all, Anna.
Oh, Ms. Solicitor, would you please do
Pass
that?
the buck, okay, Gwen.
Dude.
Yes,
Good move
so,
there. Boy, that was quick.
the Township Water and Sewer Authority has a maximum lifespan of 50 years. That's across the board.
5-0.
5-0. It is coming up on that 5-0 in 2026. In order to expand their lifespan for requested another additional 50 years, they have to go through a process that includes their request to the township to expand that lifespan and an ordinance that comes out of the township to approve it. We anticipate that the authority will have a resolution requesting the changes to expand their lifespan, that additional 50 years, at their meeting at the end of the month, which will then come to you for your March meeting. However, due to the advertising requirements for the township to advertise an ordinance, I'm asking in advance that I be authorized next week to advertise the ordinance accepting their requested expansion, so that you may consider it in March, but I can advertise it in advance.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Citizen participation.
I think I did participate already, I'm not sure, did we resolve the issue of the need for maybe an air quality study done?
So I can fill in a little bit on the process if that's helpful. I'm the new township solicitor, so hi. Sorry that I wasn't at your meeting. I already had a conflict, so I have to apologize for that. So all plans are submitted to the Planning Commission for review. That's as authorized by the Pennsylvania Municipalities Planning Code, as well as your ordinances, which set forth the parameters. The Planning Commission, like any other entity, has to sort of act as a whole, right? So they have to act on a majority vote, and any actions or recommendations that come out of the Planning Commission, because it is a recommending body as opposed to kind of an action-taking body, has to be done with a majority vote. It does, based on my understanding, appear that the Planning Commission has reviewed and made a recommendation of certain conditions to be placed on this plan, but that it is approved. That's going to be the recommendation of the Planning Commission that's before you when you consider this plan, whether it's next week or perhaps at the next month if the county takes a little bit longer. That being said, the township is free to consider other conditions. It's not beholden to the exact specifications of what the Planning Commission recommends. It can add conditions, it could subtract conditions, it could say absolutely not, we're denying the plan. You're not beholden to it. That being said, it is an entity that is specifically tasked with these sorts of reviews, and so traditionally there is some deference given to the recommendation. I would suggest, and I appreciate you being here, that in this instance, while you do have a member of the Planning Commission speaking to you, she can only speak on her behalf as a resident.
Well, I
As
did
opposed
mention
to-
it, I did bring it
Yes.
up at our meeting,
Understood.
but I was then suggested that I go ahead and look at the zoning,
Mhm.
which I did do, and
Yeah, so
I
I've
did
just put
come
it,
to the meeting and
exactly,
And as a, well, I don't know, I would just be,
as a resident.
as a resident.
Yes.
And I would make my comments at the next board meeting.
Yes, so we can
Commissioners.
accept this as an additional recommendation as a public comment.
Yeah.
Can't quite be considered a recommendation from the Planning Commission, which you understand.
I do.
But you can take that request for further review as whether that is an appropriate condition under advisement. I'm happy to issue a recommendation one way or the other on that issue as well when you consider what conditions to put on this plan if you do end up approving it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Can I send comments to you ahead of time, or should I just wait until the meeting and then make my comments?
I would suggest that if you have something in writing you want to provide tonight, you can give it to Gwen. If not, then, you know, it would be limited to the public comment period.
Okay, I can drop it off maybe tomorrow.
Sure.
No, not tomorrow, sometime this week.
We'll be here. If I'm not here, you leave with whoever's here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, I recommend in advance, always better.
Yeah, well, I have it, but it isn't put into my own language yet, so I just did.
Okay, well, we're kind of known for short meetings. We're about to go into an executive session.
I know what that is.
But thank you very much for coming and thanks for your comment.
And thanks for
Yeah,
listening.
thank
Thank you.
It's nice to meet you. I'll see you at another planning commission, unless it keeps sending Harlan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we will enter into executive session at approximately 7:18.
Just a comment before that, we do that.
We have come out of executive session and are back into the workshop meeting at 8:14. The purpose of the previous executive session was both for personnel issues and matters of potential litigation. Is there any other discussion, any other new business? Meeting adjourned.